welcome to the latest episode of the Dollar Bin Bandits, the only podcast with old friends discussing old comics and the people that created them. I'm Joe Marcello, joined as always by my partner in crimes, because there's two of us this time, Orrin Phillips.
How you doing?
And Mike Farah.
Hello, hello.
So hopefully when you see this, it's going to be somewhat timely because we are going to be discussing comics and a correlation with sports. And right about now, the Olympics are going on. So guys, let's get to it.
Yeah.
Well, if you're going to talk sports in comics, then the conversation begins with NFL SuperPro, because that was a book that encapsulated the beauty of football with the majesty of comic books. Put it together, and it was pure unadulterated bliss.
I sense sarcasm.
Just a bit.
When was NFL SuperPro? When did it come out? It came out in the early 90s?
It had to be early 90s because I remember very well you and we went to our local comic shop called Sportscapade, and the guy there named Steve kept pushing the book on us, saying it was going to be hot. It's a #1. I think Spider-Man guest starred in the first issue.
Yeah, of course.
And, everything #1 then was Money in the Bank. So I think we both resisted. And we're just
I think I got it. I think I may still have it. I'll have to
I
look
got
in
it out
my
of a dollar bin
pocket.
a couple years ago. But we actually...
Do you know how many issues were actually published?
I think he got it to 5 issues. Which is, 4
More
more
than I would
than
have
he should have.
expected.
And I think,
Go, NFL SuperPro. Go.
Yeah, how about that?
That exists.
So full disclosure to anyone watching, listening, what have you, I don't care about sports much. Unless it's, some baseball or wrestling, if that's considered a sport in certain circles. Professional wrestling.
Right.
I'm not a big sports guy, so I'm just going to be making smart comments and reactions.
That's totally fine. That's what we expect from you, Joe. One of the oldest examples I can remember, and I don't think I actually ever read the book. I just know it from its iconic cover, is Superman versus Muhammad Ali, which must have happened in the 70s, I believe, right? Sort of Kurt Swan era or Silver Age. Why? Why did that happen?
Probably just because the two were big and hot at the time. I mean, Muhammad Ali, the biggest boxer ever, even by today's standards, tying into, most iconic comic book character ever, it just seemed appropriate.
And
even as someone who is not a huge sports fan, I could respect that. I would love to have that in some form.
I think it did more for Muhammad Ali than it did for Superman.
Yeah, because in the book, it takes place on some neutral site where there's no yellow sun. So Superman's powers are pretty much that of a normal guy. So that's why I think Muhammad Ali wins, because he is the superior, I guess, pugilist in that.
Published in 78.
Oh, that's
78.
Yeah. So the year.
Is that all of our birth years?
Yeah.
It is.
For me.
Right? Wow. Amazing. Yeah, I guess you would have to do that, right? Otherwise, Muhammad Ali would have had his head punched off in the first round. What I find interesting, and there are more of these examples, is that Superman is always portrayed, I think just in comics in general, as the most powerful.
Yeah.
But when he's fighting someone individually that has a more specific power, he sort of loses, or he's just not on the individual level. So the other big one, or probably the biggest one that most people have heard of, is Superman versus Flash, and they've raced many times.
And I've only now actually determined, made the statement, or at least on record saying that Flash is faster, and not by much. If he's going to be the guy who's the fastest man in the world, then he has to beat Superman, but it's not going to be by much.
I think that's exactly right.
And that's,
I think that's the right answer. I mean, you got to give Flash something. That's his area of expertise. He has to be faster than Superman.
Right. But I think that's... Sorry, go ahead. No, please.
I was going to say similarly, and this is not, sports necessarily, but if Superman fights the Hulk, I know Superman will come out on top based on popularity.
Yeah.
But I mean, Hulk is the strongest there is. So
yeah. And
he should win in that fight based on strength.
Right.
But Superman overall with all of his stuff is the most powerful. So
I mean,
when you take everything into consideration.
That was one of my beefs with that DC or Marvel versus DC comic is, there wasn't, between the two of them, there wasn't much of a battle. And, I know Hulk won and I love Superman and Superman won. I mean, I'm sorry. Yeah, Superman won, not Hulk. Right. It was disappointing because it should have been, that's a battle that should have gone on for an issue like Doomsday and Superman,
right.
But they didn't have that. But we could turn this into a Superman discussion. But as much as I love Superman, the things that are the coolest things about Superman are also the things I don't like about him, because he is, quote unquote, the most powerful superhero. But after a while, there's not much of a challenge for him. And I think I brought this up to Ron Friends, and he's like, look, all you have to do is create a character that's stronger than him. But at the same time, if your hero is, going to be defeating someone who's more and more powerful than him each and every time, at some point, where's the challenge?
Then he's the top of the pyramid.
Yeah. Eventually. So at some point, I don't really care.
Listen, right, folks. Why is nobody saying who would win in a race between Superman and Quicksilver? Why is that conversation not being had in America?
You didn't see that coming?
That's a good point. Has Quicksilver ever been part of a race of any sort?
I don't believe so. I don't think he's ever been challenged by anyone.
He's usually a jerk.
Hey.
Well, no, I mean, in all seriousness, even when he's a good guy, he's kind of portrayed as a bit of a
pompous ass.
Yeah, pompous ass. So no one really wants to know that.
Yeah. It's interesting in the movies and shows and everything that he's not, both in the MCU, although he lasted all of a half hour.
Yeah.
In Age of Ultron, and then in the X-Men movies, he's much more likable and more of a normal kid. In fact, he may be the most likable character in there. Yeah. So they really sort of threw Pietro's comics personality aside. Just said, let's make him likable.
Yeah, I mean, they, in my opinion, that's one of the characters they really dropped the ball with. It's whatever.
Chill out, Joe. I say, if you want to talk sports and superheroes, you got to kick it back to Challengers of the Unknown, which were, I think, a boxer, a football player, I forget the other two, but in a plane crash, they get some powers and they start this little group. And also Flash Gordon, former football player, who becomes a superhero.
So all of the Challengers of the Unknown were sports heroes?
I'm going to Google it right now. I'm 99.9% sure. Talk amongst yourselves.
All I know is nice
I don't know
suits. Much
about Challengers of the Unknown.
That purple suits.
I like to keep my unknown. So, yeah, Flash Gordon. One of the big things that I always loved about X-Men, and maybe if we have Claremont on at some point, we can ask him about this, is that after, this happened 2 or 3 times, but after sort of major events, like cataclysmic changes in the comics, they would all gather at the mansion, play basketball. I remember once, I think they played baseball in one of the issues that what's that guy's name? Joe Madureira, big sort of manga.
Yeah. I know you're referring to. Yeah.
I think they played baseball, volleyball. I remember maybe it was one of those. Do you remember those Marvel swimsuit issues?
Ugh. Yeah. Yes.
But the ones that were in story were just such a nice break, because everything's, well, most comics are upping the ante. Everything's like world threatening. And then you just have like them all hanging out, playing some sports, and all in these, at the time, terrible pieces of athleisure, if we can use that word, which I hate that word. But it was a nice break, and then they'd go on, and then, something would come out of the shadows and threaten them again, and they'd go on their adventures. But I really like those little breaks for the X-Men.
Yeah. Now, I think they had a comic for a bit, but I know they were a cartoon, but the Bionic Six, they were all athletes. They, one had a baseball bat. I remember they would put their fist in their wrist and go like that, and suddenly someone's throwing a football or a basketball, and that's how they defeated villains that way.
One of them was an athlete.
I thought they were all athletes.
They all had their thing, but
Right.
one of them was an athlete. The guy with the baseball cap and a bat. But yeah, I mean, there were, in their leisure time, they were playing sports and doing all that stuff. I actually found, it's not here, damn it, my one Bionic Six figure.
Nice.
And it's die-cast figure with certain points in their arm, like the biceps and legs, that were like clear plastic.
Okay.
And I always thought it was the biggest ripoff because in the commercial for the figures, those clear plastic sections would like flash or glow, but they didn't do any of that stuff at home. So for the longest time, I'm like, I think mine's broken.
You were ripped off, man.
Yeah, I was a stupid kid.
Okay, I'm going to show my ignorance. I don't remember the Bionic Six.
I think they were on. Well, we were all.
What was it? It was a cartoon.
Yeah, it was like a Channel 11 type thing.
Channel 11.
Maybe I got the channel wrong, but it was. Yeah, it was on for a little while. I thought it was fun, but it was like a mother and father and like a bunch of it was like the United Nations family, because all the kids were like various ethnicities, like they were adopted and stuff like that. I think maybe one of the kids was their biological child. But from kind of like the Captain Planet type of thing, where they're all from various countries, and they all had their own thing, like the sports kid, and they're all kind of escape me, but like the all-American dad, the homemaker mom, very cliche. And I don't remember how they got their powers, but they all got some powers, and they had a ring and a wrist thing, and they touched it and their powers came on, whatever. It was on after Mask.
Yes.
Is it a surprise it has not been mentioned in any adaptation coming up in the next few years?
It has Facebook groups.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think everything does, but we do. So.
We have a Facebook group.
Right. We're as good as the Bionic Six.
Such as it is. Yeah, look at that.
There we go. At least.
Extreme.
I think we need to talk about Cyborg.
Yeah.
Especially given his prominent role, or more prominent role, in the Snyder Cut, right?
Booyah.
Yeah. Which I thought was one of the best parts of the Snyder Cut, was sort of fleshing out his story and giving sort of he became basically the main character in the Justice League movie once that was recut.
Yeah.
And his backstory, which I think is the same as the comics, right? He was an up and coming football star before an injury.
Yeah, it was more attuned to the New 52 versions of his backstory, but still, not that it was that far off. He got hurt, and the mother box had something to do with it. And his father is a scientist, and he's a bit, out of touch with his father, and experimented on him to help him and that type of thing. And he kind of fused with the mother box.
So pre New 52, was the mother box even like a part of the story?
No, I think he just got hurt in an explosion or accident, and his father was, I think, still part of the
Star Labs.
Yeah, Star Labs, and helped them, get better. And basically made him into Cyborg.
So it's more like the $6 Million Man originally, right? I mean,
Yeah,
gets into some sort of accident and they rebuild him.
Right.
Yeah. But football was always like a part of it. Like he was always a football star. I wonder why he didn't just go out and like dominate football after becoming
That's cheating,
a
bro.
powerful guy.
Well, it's kind of noticeable when you have like robot legs and a big red eye.
He couldn't help it.
Yeah.
He didn't ask to be rebuilt.
You see, you're saying,
Coach, come on, put me in.
That's a good point. Why didn't he do that? Why did he decide to dedicate his life to saving others when he could have been?
I don't know. He could have been huge. Like he could have been NFL SuperPro times.
Yeah.
A million.
He could have been on Kickers Incorporated.
What's that?
Did you make that up?
Kickers Inc. Kickers Incorporated from the New Universe. I think Ron Friends worked on it. It was that.
I feel bad.
I know what you're talking about. I never read it or collected it, but I remember hearing the discussion about it.
Right. But they were.
You found another of my blind spots. I've never heard of that in my life. What was Kicker? Tell me about Kicker Incorporated.
It was right after Kids Incorporated.
Right. It was a singing duo. No, I think it was
Punching Incorporated.
I believe I didn't read many of them. I just think they were a football team. They got, of course, either some sort of physical change happened to them. They got superpowers, and it was part of the new universe. And I think it all took place in Pittsburgh. So, again, not a lot of people, out there clamoring for Kickers Inc. to make a triumphant return. But then again, wasn't Booster Gold a football player?
Was he? That might make sense. I mean, he always claimed he was famous or wanted to be famous, right?
Right. I think he was.
It's possible.
A lot of questions.
Why aren't more superheroes athletes in their former life? You think that would actually help them? They all tend to be like unassuming,
right.
Folks that just have these powers, and then they become. Here's a funny thing: is that just because you're getting superpowers,
right,
that shouldn't make you athletic, and yet it does. Like for every character, right?
Yeah.
I mean, like Spider-Man has the powers of a spider, great, acceptable, in this realm of fantasy. But like, does he know how to flip around and do like crazy stunts?
That's true. Like who trained him to do all those things?
Exactly.
Yeah, because
I would think mostly you would think you would start out as an athlete, and if you gave the athlete the superpowers, they would be like even better. But I guess they just solved that by being like, everybody just kind of gets that's baseline superpowers. You just get athletic.
You have the agility of, someone. I don't know. But yeah, I mean,
true jock Mike Farah. Sorry, we can all be, Mr. Athletics like yourself.
If you had hung out at the jock table like I did, and squeezed orange juice, out of your bicep.
True.
That's what high school was like. I would always look across the cafeteria at Mike at the jock table. I'm like, what happened?
With his varsity jacket and.
Sorry, Joe.
You
no
anymore.
More room at the table.
Whatever. I'll go sit with Greg.
Sit with the band nerds.
Till Mike came crashing back to Earth.
Right.
And now he does.
That was like 5 minutes. It was like on co-ed volleyball, and I was like, I'm a jock. Come on.
But yeah, I mean, I know there's an issue. I have it, and it's like it's from the 70s. It's a DC book, and it has the Joker pitching a baseball to, I think, Batman at the plate, and on the side of it there's like a whole roster, and it says like, so and so playing this, and this, and I don't know if it's Strange Sports or what it is. I have to find it, but I tried to make a poster out of it because I make all these bootleg ones, but for some reason the coloring was off. But that's something because I'm a baseball fan, I think that'd just be pretty awesome to have.
I'd say
it's my story.
Yeah, I agree. If I were into baseball, I'd want to have that too.
Were there any other major sports figures that had like a crossover, like the Muhammad Ali Superman?
Well, this is not necessarily comics, but there was a movie called Space Jam
I was just about to say that.
back in the day.
And
there's a little sequel that just came out.
Yeah. Yeah. So LeBron and Michael Jordan, obviously. Did you guys both? So my daughter saw it. Without me. Did you guys watch it with your kids?
Yes.
Supposedly, there's all kinds of WB IP. I
all
also
over
hate
the
that
place.
Phrase. Yeah, intellectual property. Like basically, they're characters. So did Superman or any of the superheroes make an appearance?
The animated ones. So the Justice League Unlimited cartoon.
Yeah.
Those versions of the characters are in it as cartoons.
And were they just in the crowd, or were they?
Yeah. So if you look in the crowd, there is. I've watched it twice already. So the second time, all I did was just stare in the crowd. So Iron Giant makes an appearance. King Kong. There are two versions of the Joker: the Jack Nicholson version and the most recent, what's his name, version.
Jared Leto?
No, Joaquin Phoenix.
Heath Ledger.
Oh, okay.
His version's in it. There's,
But as cartoons?
No, as live people.
Oh.
And then there's
Weird.
Mr. Freeze. The Mask is in it. Catwoman, Penguin. So yeah, they're all over.
And I assume they push the plot forward in some way, and they're not just gratuitous cameos.
Absolutely not. Yeah, they don't add anything to the movie except just being there, and there's like no actually the only mention of a crowd person is Don Cheadle's character makes a reference that's 15 years too late. It says King Kong ain't got nothing on me or something to that effect, and King Kong is in the crowd. He just goes, and
that sounds.
Yeah.
It's not a very good movie. I mean, other than them having it's really lame. And the only reference or two references I think to the first movie are the little scrawny creatures from the first one, like the bad ones, or the other team guys. They're in the crowd, and there's a joke which I thought was actually kind of funny where at halftime they're getting beat and they're in their locker room, and they say, "Oh, I got Michael Jordan," and they make they kind of announce this whole entrance, and you see this figure coming down the hall, and it's Michael B. Jordan,
the actor,
and the actor, and he's just like eating popcorn, and Sylvester turns to Daffy Duck or something, and he goes, "Oh, you couldn't find Michael A. Jordan, so you found Michael B. Jordan," and I actually thought that was very funny, but yeah.
Well, I mean, I'm surprised Michael B. Jordan was even in that movie. I mean, that just upped the ante. It might be Oscar winning now.
Well, he's got a contract now with Warner Brothers.
Yeah. Yeah, is he going to be the new Superman?
He's going to be
doing a show, right?
He's producing a Superman movie, but I think
it's a movie, not a series.
Well, he's producing a new Superman something, whether it's a series or a movie. I haven't got the slightest idea, but it's going to be, a new version of Superman that's African American, probably one of the two that's been in the comics as of late.
Well, that sounds
we're
cool.
all sort of forgetting 1980s America, still in the thick of the Cold War. We're having issues with Iran, and Chicago Bears star William the Refrigerator Perry picks up the phone, calls G.I. Joe, and says, "Sign me up, boys. I'm coming to help." So he shows up with a metal football on a chain, and he goes and he just wails on Cobra.
No, not just Cobra. As I recall, the October Guard.
Yes. The Russian version.
The Russian G.I. Joes.
Who later became our friends.
Right.
Previous things.
Right.
But the bravery he showed, he had a football career going on, but he saw G.I. Joe was missing a man with a iron football on a chain to take out men with guns, and he answered the call.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it ever made the comic books because it's probably too classified.
Yeah.
But I do remember that. And I wasn't a huge G.I. Joe fan. But, how much water does that hold, this story about, did he really pick up the phone and call? What was it, Mattel? Who did the G.I. Joe figures?
Yeah, Sergeant Slaughter was there too.
Yeah, I was going to say, let's not sell him short. I mean, Sergeant Slaughter was, he was a big deal in G.I. Joe, not only in the series, but also made it into the movie.
Oh yeah, the G.I. Joe, they're a tight unit, but they were getting a little too loose. And the Sarge came in with Slaughter's Marauders, and he tightened that ship. He got them focused. He put, I think, what was it, Hawk? He put him on the straight and narrow.
Yeah.
So,
he actually left wrestling to join G.I. Joe.
Yep.
Right.
That's what he did. He had his own tank.
That's actually true.
That's courage there. That's what
Vince McMahon said no. And he was like, all right, I quit. I'm going to go do G.I. Joe.
Yeah, I think it was at AWA when he was doing that.
Oh, was it? Okay.
I think he was there for doing
I hate to ask this question. Is he still around?
He's alive. He's alive, yeah.
Yeah, he's an older gent.
He doesn't work for the WWE anymore.
He's had some little controversy around him recently with the whole Sergeant Slaughter thing. Because because the Sergeant Slaughter story is that he was was in the Marines and he was a drill sergeant and this and that. And people looked up, and Robert Remus, who plays Sergeant Slaughter, never served in the military.
So he never did? Really?
No. Yeah,
I thought maybe he did.
So they're like, he's going out there saying that he's a veteran or he's military and stuff like that. And I think the WWE came out and was like, no, it's a character. The character says that the character says he did that. Robert Remus never came out and said, Robert Remus, the man who plays Sergeant Slaughter, was also in the military. So
next thing you're going to tell me, the Iron Sheik is not a sheik, nor made of iron.
We'll leave you with that illusion.
He likes to drink.
Let me have my fantasies.
He's the wealthiest man in Iran right now.
All right, I'm going to bring it back around. I've been collecting these Marvel Legends figures, right? So I guess they're a sub-brand of Marvel. I guess they make a bunch of others. But right now, this is their sort of premium, 6-inch figures. They've been doing them since, I want to say, 2010. And they do a lot of these, figures that have build-a-figure things. You have to buy 5 of them and put them together. And they're really cool. It became my sort of obsession over the quarantining time and, gave me some control over my life. But I think we need to start a petition for an NFL SuperPro Marvel Legends figure.
Definitely.
I think we can do it.
Did you ever build a figure? Did you ever get all the figures?
Have I done it?
One?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and in fact, some of them I've just put together because I'm lazy.
You just bought all the pieces and they're made?
No, they come together. People take them out and then sell them on eBay that way.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Because I don't want, I don't know, sometimes all 5 figures are really good, but sometimes it's Frogman or something like that. And I'm I don't want to buy that just to get the piece.
They're probably the rarest ones, though, those obscure characters.
Probably. I mean, there are some that are super rare.
Yeah.
But the one of the ones I built was Joe Fixit, which I was, the gray persona, which I thought was really awesome.
He had the suit, right? He had
he has a suit and the sort of fedora, and he's the enforcer from Vegas. But anyway, SuperPro. If SuperPro was a Build-A-Figure, who would be the ones that you would have to get pieces of him for? It would have to be a bunch of terrible.
SuperPro is a character?
NFL SuperPro. Mike DiCarlo worked on it. Remember, I asked him, I was like, how did that all come about? And he just shook his head because he's a sports guy. and he was
"Oh yeah, okay."
like Marvel they made some deal with the NFL. They thought this was going to be a huge thing. He said they came to me with it because they knew I knew sports, and I said, "What did you think of it?" And he was like, he's like, I kind of saw the writing on the wall pretty early with this one. I mean, it's
guys, if you're listening to this, you have to Google NFL SuperPro right now. You will be delighted by the fine design that went into this superhero and the cross-corporate synergy between NFL and Marvel. I think it's our finest example of sports and comics coming together, like Oren introduced at the beginning of the show.
It's like if Captain America became a football player.
Pretty much. But fought crime in a football outfit. A uniform, I should say. Outfit. Yeah.
Oh, wow. So, I don't know if you guys have ever seen the Avengers video game or commercials for it or images from it.
What's a video game?
Yeah.
I haven't touched one in ages. So when the game first came out, after obviously the various movies, it was a big deal. But the designs for the characters were terrible, and a lot of the people were expecting stuff closer to the movies or at least the comics, and the Captain America design is very similar to this Super Pro character in that he's wearing like bulky padding and a goofy helmet and stuff like that, and they've since created patches and updates that kind of make the the various character designs better. But yeah, that's I wouldn't buy that.
One man's goofy helmets and padding is another man's life-saving equipment, Joe.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. Protects against injury, but no.
Well,
be prudent at this.
It gets a thumb down. One thumb down from Joe. Yeah, we're gonna have to come up with some sort of system here.
Everyone loves.
There are no three thumbs.
I was gonna say
a big F you.
Obscure characters popping up, like in Loki, Frog Thor, in that brief second of him jumping up and down. NFL SuperPro, people love Easter eggs, and they love. That's.
I mean, it would be so easy. All you have to do is modify a regular, NFL outfit.
Unless they have to get all sorts of new licensing through NFL now to say, and that's cheap.
Yeah.
Throw a couple of bucks their way.
Yeah. Oh boy. And then all the controversy with, I won't even bring it up. With the helmets and the head injuries.
He's a bit of a lightning rod.
Yeah. It's like a topical here.
Yeah, Mike.
I don't know. The controversy just struck me. I had to bring it up.
Bring it down.
But yeah, I think we did this subject justice.
And I'm sure people can write and list more sports figures that became superheroes or correct us on things we said wrong. I'm
sure we got a lot wrong and missed quite a bit. But
if you're watching this, comment under the YouTube. If you're listening to this, why don't you go to our Twitter, which is @DBBandits, and let us know what we missed or what we got wrong or how much you don't like me bringing up concussions in a comic story.
Or the Bandits Facebook page and post some covers of sports-themed books that you have in your collection.
And for those creators that we've had on and might be listening, we'd love to see your rendition of NFL SuperPro.
Yeah.
You could put that on our Facebook page as well.
Really put away the commissions that you're doing and things people are expecting in a timely manner and focus on that.
Yeah. We realize we're getting paid for, work.
I think this might be our lightning rod for creators, for artists going forward, is get just all commissions of NFL SuperPro.
if we ever get McFarlane and Liefeld on, that's question number one is how come you didn't work on NFL SuperPro?
Yeah.
And
how come you didn't bring that over from Marvel to Image? I'm sure they would have sold you the IP.
Or McFarlane with his toys.
True.
Get on
if there was ever a figure that
Marvel
was right
Legends
for the design.
Yes.
Right. Make it like a Willy Wonka golden ticket where there's one, and it's going to be in a random Walmart somewhere. And so everyone has to go running out to find it. And whoever gets it gets to get their picture with some clown dressed up as NFL SuperPro at the Marvel offices.
McFarlane just did that. Did you see that?
No.
What?
This is off topic, but he created a specific version of a Spawn comic, a cover, numbered it. I think there's only 250. Okay, each one is numbered. And it's for, maybe a comic convention or something.
Right.
And he's only going to sign those comics once. So if you have those comics and you're at that convention, he will only sign that time at that convention. If someone presents that comic to him elsewhere other than that particular convention or time, he's not going to sign it.
It seems complicated.
I was going to say, what's to stop some store owner from, going through and be like, oh, I got it, not putting it up for sale so anyone else can get it but himself. And then.
I mean, you can have it, but if someone gets that comic and goes to, say, Big Apple Comic Con in whatever the hell that is in October, and they say, hey, can you sign this for me? He's not going to do it. I mean, it's a bit. So
does he have a big spreadsheet of like which ones he can sign or can't sign?
Well, it's a very specific design cover, and each one is numbered accordingly. I mean, I don't know if they have like a certificate of authenticity or whatever, but it's it's very tightly contained in that sense. But
that's gonna be like a whole different show. Like the whole thing of artists or writers will sign only this book, but they won't sign that book. And it's like, well, why? What happened?
Right. Well, Oren, that's what you call a tease. That will be our next discussion item on the next episode of Dollar Bin Bandits.
I guess you could say I just hit it out of the ballpark.
On that note, everyone, we will see you next time.